This is the TPN Podcast number 5. I'm Matt, co-founder of the Pilot Network and co-host of the TPN Podcast. We're back with another Touch and Go. We've got a great topic for you today, something that's asked on the network all the time. Here we go.
Hi folks, welcome to another episode of the Pilot Network's quick hitting podcast called Touch and Go. I'm your host, Adam Uhan. Today we're going to talk about something that we've been seeing a bunch of both in the Facebook group, hearing a lot of in person. That's what we do here anyways. The question of should I stay or should I go? I know it's really appropriate for military members as they make that decision. Is it time to bail on the active duty, take my retirement and get going, maybe even leave the guard or reserves if that's not working out for whatever the reason is. But there's more to it than that. We have some people with corporate jobs or Part 121 in the regional world, and they also need to make a decision too. They've really senior, quality of life, pay, whatever the case might be. The question still comes up, should I stay or should I go? So let's kind of delve into that a little bit and see what it is, relatively speaking, to each one of you. Should you stay or should you go? All right, first off, what's the real cost? This question comes up so much when I talk to my buddies at my guard unit or when I'm talking to friends just out on the road. Everybody says, well, obviously, you should leave for the major airlines. It's the biggest payday at the end of the month or the biggest payday at the end of your career. More than likely, that's the real number that you're looking at. So money, obviously, money is probably one of the biggest things that we look at and discuss. But that's really not the only thing. Yeah, is there that nice big fat retirement check at the end like there used to be? No. But there is those direct contributions. I mean, yeah, there's the A fund at FedEx and UPS, but most other airlines don't have that anymore. So some of that is thrown out the window. But yeah, you're going to make a lot more money. But is it worth it to give up that quality of life? Let's say you're a senior regional guy, somebody who's been at your company for 15, 16 years, and you're sitting up there in the low digits, and you have this great schedule. I don't know. A lot of guys aren't sure if it's worthwhile to punch out of that situation and try to make the move to the next airline. I know monetarily it probably is, but quality of life wise, you have to really weigh that. Some of the military guys out there, you have to look, post-military goals. What do you want to do? Is it, do you want to fly airplanes? Do you not want to fly airplanes? Do you want to just go off and own a ranch somewhere in Texas, as I heard from one of my friends? And I agree that those are all things that you can think about, but is the airline something that you want to do on the side as a part-time job as you get older? The seniority gain versus lost. If you stick around, how much seniority are you going to lose? And then is it going to make it worthwhile to jump later over to the Part 121 world or whatever the case might be? Those are the real costs that we need to look at, kind of understand before we go any further down this path. Personally, I thought it was worth it. So I got out way early, 4.5 years, not even 4.5 years into my commitment into active duty. They had force shaping. So I punched out. I'm considered a lucky one. And then I slowly evolved into my airline career going forward. And that's how I got to where I am today. But I think had I done a true analyzation, that's what we're really going to talk about next, I don't know if it would have been the smartest move to bail out when I did. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. I met some of my best friends. I met my wife that way. I could not be happier with my decision to have left active duty when I did. It wasn't working out for me. But it might not be that case for everybody out there. So how do you really analyze that? And I had a really great friend once talk to me about kind of this decision matrix analyzation tool. It was an engineering thing out there where you put in, it's like operational risk management. You put in on one side whatever the decision is and whatever some of the pieces are. So let's say you're moving from one city to another, and you weigh out you have to weight everything. What the school district's better? Do you like it that it's on a river as opposed to on a lake or no water or whatever the case might be? And then you weight everything. And then you go through and you redo it. You engineers out there, and there's a hell of a lot of you out there probably know this a lot better than I do. For operational risk management, when you work with companies or even in the military or whatever the case might be, You can do the same thing and analyze, is it the right decision? So you have to wait. Is money the most important thing to you? Is quality of life? I mean, yeah, those are obviously two biggies. But is it something like, is it the kind of equipment you want to fly? Do you want to go international? Do you want to stay just in the continental United States? Do you want to live in the South? Is it easier for you to commute? You got to start weighing those things and then see what the real true cost of staying in your current job or moving on to that next phase of your life, and then weigh those out. And we can help you with that on the network. Just ask, hey, will I have the opportunity to do this later on in life? Maybe I want to go to law school later on in life, or maybe I want to go to law school now and then get an airline job, or whatever the case might be. Whatever it is that you can do, you're going to have to weigh those things out and then go forward, analyzing it and making sure that you make a educated and informed decision. It's going to take some research on your part, obviously, but we all know that. We all did it. That analyzation decision matrix tool, and you can build that however you want to, will really help you kind of make the thought process a little bit more organized as you step forward into this world. One of the big things is finally just pulling that trigger. And we all know that sometimes it's good to make that kind of impromptu, that spontaneous decision. Well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people really like to make that spontaneous decision and just that sort of impromptu, let's do it, let's go, impulsivity, if you will. This is probably not the case for a career change like this. So don't leave until you have a plan. When you have a plan, you're going to feel a lot better. And I don't mean don't even make the decision till you have a plan. So if you're a military guy, go out and plan getting your ATP, plan your interview prep, plan the companies that you have applied to, and what you're going to do for each one. And if this company calls you, I'm going to do this. If that company calls you, I'm going to do that kind of thing. Go out and make sure you have that plan in place before you execute it. One of the things that I kind of look at, and I do now, I didn't do it when I was younger, and this is one of those lessons learned, and it paid dividends later on in my career. When I was younger, it surely didn't, because I would have moved along a lot farther, a lot faster. Maybe I'll tell that story someday about how I had my opportunity at Compass and kind of pissed it away. But the way I kind of look at it is plan, execute, evaluate, repeat. So if you want to call it the peer method, go ahead, use that. But we make that plan, we kind of execute what's in the plan. And that doesn't mean necessarily that we have to go out and do it. That means we execute it kind of in our mind. And we think, okay, so if I got called by American, what's that going to look like? I'm going to talk to some guys at American, and this is kind of what the opportunities are going to be. Or whomever, maybe it's Abbott Labs in Chicago or something like that as a corporate job. Or if I go Part 135 first, if I have to hit the regionals up for a while, I'm going to execute that plan maybe in my head. Then I'm going to evaluate it. Maybe that's actually writing it down. Maybe it's looking at everything else. Maybe it's making a spreadsheet like one of my buddies did with all the numbers and how much money he could make going forward in the airlines as opposed to staying active military. That's that evaluation piece after you've executed that plan in your head and then repeating. We do this naturally anyways. This is just a way of drawing it out, maybe giving it a name so we can actually take it and run with it and go forward with it and kind of live our whole life as an airline pilot before we actually make one step into it. That way we also have something nice to present our wives or our spouses or kids or whatever the case might be to show them what we're going to do going forward. The next thing that I like to do is kind of talk with others objectively, compare notes. Yeah, we do that. TPN is great. That's what we do on there anyways. But sometimes you got to get more into detail. Talking to somebody who doesn't have the best outlook on how the airline life is treated him, or the military, or whatever the case might be, or somebody who's got that experience that just says, hey, this was my issues. This is what sucked about it. This is what was really great about it. You want that honest feedback, not the person who's trying to validate your career. We all know somebody. I sure know plenty of guys who've validated their careers by saying, oh, it was the best decision I ever made. And maybe it really wasn't. I know I've done it myself even. I think maybe all of us have. And we've got to kind of drill down past that and get the real truth so we can make that right decision, or not necessarily the right decision, but the educated and informed decision. Another thing I think is kind of worth it is professional advice. Sometimes the bro network lets us down a little bit. You hear the same thing over and over again, and you don't really hear what you need to hear. You hear what you want to hear. And it's no fault of anybody's. It's just the way it naturally works out. Yeah, groupthink. Everybody's going down this road instead of choosing their own path. And I think a great way to do that is professional advice and a little bit of career counseling. It's out there. There's a lot of great people out there who that's what they have a business model doing, and they're going to help kind of steer you in the right direction. Even if it's not a professional career counselor, the military's got lots of options available out there to talk to people who work in that transition assistance stuff. I don't think it's really all that applicable for the airlines, but it's nice just to bounce a couple ideas off somebody else who gets paid to sit and listen to that kind of thing and see what they have to say. So just something else to throw out there that you can take advantage of. Then I moved back into that whole peer model, the plan, execute, evaluate, repeat. Now it's time to kind of do it for real. Pull the trigger, get out there, start making whatever your plan is happening by executing correctly. One of my friends and I always said, execution is the key to good football. Well, execution is also the key to operating your plan as swiftly and smoothly as you can, and then evaluate it and then kind of shift whatever you need to shift. I'm a diehard Packers fan, and it's always been said that sometimes our coaching staff has a hard time adapting. That's that part of the evaluation piece that we as individuals need to kind of take and adapt our plan and then re-execute and then repeat it again. And a great way to do that is get out there. Just start doing your apps. Who cares if they're done correctly the first time through? You don't have to publish them. Just do them. Get all that stuff on paper so you can start tweaking it as you go along. Job fairs are great to attend. Women in Aviation, OBAP, Northwestern Job Fair, Sun and Fun has some stuff like that. EAA, Oshkosh. That's part of that networking outside of just what you're doing when you listen to a podcast or you read a couple posts on Facebook or you go onto the website even. That's really taking that next step forward. And that's what TPN's there also to help you do. Same with letters of recommendation. Go out there and ask. Ask the correct way. Ask politely. I talked a little bit about that in another podcast, and we wrote about it in TPNQ. So take a look at that stuff to get your right footing when it comes to asking for letters of recommendations. Of course, you got to get out and get all your ratings done. That's obvious. For you military guys out there, there's lots of schools that you can attend to kind of bolster your profile, your resume. And even if you don't necessarily use it going into the Part 121 world, what a great backdrop, or not necessarily backdrop, but a great backup in case something would happen where you can't fly anymore or you need to take a break for whatever reason. Safety school is a great one to think just off the top of my head. There's some others out there that I'd be happy to share with you. Go ahead and hit me up, email or PM. My email is adam@thepilotnetwork.org, or you can just shoot me a PM on Facebook. I know that's easier for a lot of guys. And then just keeping up with your recency and your proficiency and all that kind of stuff is really important as well. There's also interview priming and prepping. That's really critical. Kind of having resumes and apps looked at and all that stuff is really important as well. But just keeping it in the forefront of your mind. And really what I'm trying to say is deliberate living, making sure that we do this process deliberately. All right, so kind of recapping. Should we stay or go? We got to look at the real cost, and how do we do that? We analyze it maybe with some tools that are out there, tools of the trade that we can wait and check the risks and make sure it's the right move that we're making. And then finally, just pulling the trigger and going through the planning of it, execution, the evaluation, then repeating it over and over and over again until we find the spot that we want to be in and doing it right. So that's kind of the way that I looked at it now, and what really got me to where I wanted to be instead of kind of treading water and not really sure if I was in the right spot. Well, guys, thanks, and gals, of course, thank you so much for taking another listen to Touch and Go. We'll have one out there again for you soon. I'm Adam Uhan, signing off for the Pilot Network. Fly safe.